we're run by fear, then you don't ever get to see what's on the other side, of the ceiling, the other side of that gulf, which is the learning zone and the growth zone, right? Where you're fulfilling your goals, you're learning and gaining new skills, and that's where actually a lot of fulfillment happens.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I'm here with Jason Cook, the lead gen guru. He did sales and marketing at Adobe for 8 years. Then at Keller Williams, he helped grow one of Utah's largest real estate teams as their director of lead generation. Jason, as I mentioned, I'm gonna stop there because I really think this is kind of the stuff that is much better told in your words. But first, I want to start with thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for accommodating a late schedule change because I had to go do a career day thing with my son. So I am already in your debt, but happy to have you here. Happy to chat. I'm super excited for the conversation.
I am as well. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking and sharing, just a few stories that hopefully help somebody somewhere along the line. Entrepreneurship, trying to balance that with family can be pretty challenging. Um, yeah, in fact, just looking at your bio, I just wanted to share, um, having children and having that be a priority is a big task to try to balance all that you do and to have a strong, healthy relationship. And I'd say a lot of people that have children, that is their big why. And so, maybe even just first off, I'd say just storytelling in general, I think is very valuable that helps communicate so much about what someone values. It communicates, the metadata and information about who they are and, what they care about. And it reveals a lot of deeper truths, to know if you can trust somebody and if you want to get in business with somebody. So storytelling, I think, is something all entrepreneurs need to learn how to do well. Um,
Yep.
awesome. Well, maybe I'll just share. Yeah, were you
Yeah,
gonna?
tell us your story. Let's start there so we can people can kind of know about you and your background, and then yeah, I think uh, plenty here to talk about on that topic and others.
Well, it all begins on a Tuesday morning. When I was born. No, we don't need to start that far back,
Going way
but
back, yeah.
going way back, 42 years old. But um, I served an LDS mission in Spain, and doing sales with religion is one of the hardest things that you can do. So I'm very grateful for, the experience of, being able to do that. I got a degree in family science. I thought that marriage counseling was the route that I wanted to go. And while I do have a passion about relationships, healthy relationships, um, that was not the right career choice for me. And yeah, it's kind of really evolved from um, sales, marketing, branding, and I've always known that I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know how to start or where to start and what you need in order to begin. Uh, and it even starts with, so I have 6 kids with my wife. I'm a really good father for 3 of them. It's hard being a father. Doesn't come, there's no manual, right? But I found in my mid 30s that I I wasn't providing the opportunities that I wanted to for my children, and I didn't have as much time that I wanted to give. And the route that I was on, I it, I experienced so much pain, and often I think that's what a lot of people get to when they are at a point where they need to grow, and they just need that bump. And for me, it was, I'd been an employee for 15 years, and I'd reached a place where that experience and that role of employee, employer, and just uh, who I wanted to be and how I wanted to grow. it was very limiting, and I was able to get to a place where found an opportunity in this strange home warranty place that I'll talk about in a minute. Um, but yeah, even before I get to that, I would just say anybody out there who is, interested in entrepreneurship should read. That really is a foundational thing, is just to see what others have done and what were their motivators. Uh, and it isn't always just about the opportunity. Uh, the market is what it is, but it's unlimited, I believe. I really believe that anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, to start a business, to run a business, to grow and sell, or whatever their path may be, there's ample opportunity. It's just a matter of, you taking and, putting your flag on the ground and making the decision that you want to make a dent. And it's going to require a lot from you. And you're going to be there's a whole train of things that are going to come along with that. Some that you're going to be really happy with, and some that are less than ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've encountered some of that, Jason, in your journey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is it's hard, and it's interesting. We've already touched a lot about family and kids and stuff, and I think that the anytime I have something happen in like the business world, entrepreneurship world, whatever, anything that's hard that's like outside of family, and I think I could just go back to a W-2 job. Like I could just go do that, right? Like be
Hmm.
a normal
Yeah.
person, right? I could just go do that. And then I think, yeah, no, I'll be away from my kids more than I am now. And everything else becomes okay. Like everything else is not as bad as that to me. So it's because I did that when my son was born. I was working a lot and away a lot, and I was like, nah, this isn't how I want rest of life to happen. And so I everybody has to figure out what works for them. I don't know that decision is the same for every person, but yeah,
Hmm.
um you're absolutely right. Like it's hard, but so is life. Like in
Yeah.
general,
Choose
it's
your
hard.
hard, right?
Right.
Everything's going to be
It's
hard.
exactly that. It's like it's a very cliche thing, but I think that that's because most cliches are true. Like you you do choose your hard, and you can have. I think you can either just have it be hard forever, or you can make it probably even harder for 5 to 10 years to then open up the rest of your life in a sense that it's the way that you want it to be. And I think
Hmm. Yep.
most people probably don't want to hold on to the extra hard for that long. If I don't know how to if that's the right way to put it, but yeah, that's at least my
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah. It's a sacrifice. It's what it is. I want to sacrifice some immediate now
Mhm.
for something that I know is going to pay off later.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people are afraid, to take that step. But it's definitely worth it, for alone the fact alone that you will become a different person coming out of that experience. Whether the business is successful or not,
yeah,
you grow and develop, and there's a lot of value in that. I think everyone hopefully sees something in that. But yeah, maybe one more item just related to, kids and boys in particular. I think, for as long as humans have been around, men have reared and mentored young boys just side by side. And, boys have seen their fathers in all types of environments over decades as they've grown up with them, until recently, this industrial era. All of a sudden, the father's out of the house and not present. And boys are, growing up, and they they don't understand, how this world works exactly. They don't understand the role that fathers and that men play. And so I think more time that boys can spend with their dads, at home and doing work and playing and out in nature, all of those are real
yeah,
valuable. But
yeah,
that's been just one of my big whys, is just wanting more time with family.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, just on the entrepreneur side, I guess, just talking on the home warranty front, and a little bit of the template things that I did that I know really can translate from industry to industry would be one, first off, just asking lots of questions and finding out, the industry that you're looking into. And for me, in this case, I was doing lead generation for a real estate team. And, we interacted with a lot of different industry experts from, real estate agents, title escrow officers and their marketers. You have mortgage people, you have inspectors, home warranty people, painters and HVAC and a lot of others who really, want to interact with real estate agents because there's a lot of, selling that happens and home upgrades and home services that happen. And so real estate agents are often, some of those players that help facilitate connections. And so, we were getting marketed to, and I remember this one morning where we had this home warranty rep come in, throw a piece of candy on our desk, drop a little flyer. I don't know if he even said anything, but he walked out, and I looked at my coworker friend, and we were looking at each other like, "Is this his job? Like, is this what he's doing? Like, this seems so easy."
Yeah.
And, I think that conversation led to, what does that look like? They're collecting this policy payment and they probably don't even have to do anything. And it looked really, sexy and attractive from the outsider. It looked really easy. Obviously not most, most industries are not going to be easy. And this one is not either, but at the onset it did. But what it did was it helped me look at this industry in a way that was, what does that look like? What does it look like to run a home warranty industry? What does the overhead look like? And so these questions just added more and more fuel to more questions. And then I was asking other real estate agents what they thought of the market. What's happening in this industry? Are you liking what they're doing? Are you liking how they market to you? Are they taking care of your clients? Do they do renewals? It just built out
Mhm.
over a 6, 7 month period a pretty decent perspective from the 7 or 8 players in this home warranty industry for me that led to, I think there might be an opportunity here in our local state. A company had got built up a lot of market share, and then they got bought out, and then over the preceding 3, 4 years the service just went downhill, and the trust that other, the homeowners and real estate agents had in that industry has just gone, way down. And so there's a vacuum, and really that's kind of what I felt. And so the next step for me was, well, I just need to do more fact finding, because I want to build, if I'm going to do this, I want to build something that is going to be attractive to this group that have been, that they've been left high and dry. And so I called over 100 real estate agents that I didn't know, and I just told them who I was and what I was doing. I was doing some market analysis. Would you be open to have, me asking you 2 or 3 questions? I asked him my questions. I asked the pain points. I asked if another company came in that's addressed those pain points, would you work with them? And out of those 100, maybe it was even 120, I think I had 70 70 to 80 who said, yes, I would work with someone that would be able to solve those. And that was enough for me to next step, which would be build a financial model. I'm an analytics guy. I like data. I like seeing it. I like projections. That helps me, from a mental standpoint, take another step in the dark, take another step forward on what do I need to do to like bring this to, realization. And for me, who had never had, more than $4 or $5,000 in my bank account, this financial model for this home warranty company, and I reworked it over and over again, told me that in 12 months from then, I would have over $100,000 in the bank, claims would be paid, and I would have 3 employees. And I could not believe it. I wanted to believe it so badly. And I worked it over and over again. And I asked everybody I knew in my network that had started a business, ran a business, had done sales in a business, and asked them to look this over to help me retool it. And I couldn't make it any better. I could not prove it wrong, which gave me quite a bit of excitement, because I knew that if I could do X, Y, and Z every day, that those sales would roll in. And I already had 70 to 80 people who had committed that they would send me business. And so it felt like this is a no-brainer. I have to move forward. And sure enough, from start in April to October, I hired my first person. November, I hired a second person. January, I hired a third person. And I helped continue to do sales, not to the point where I was comfortable with the income that I was making, but that I could stop doing work doing sales, or I could stop doing, oversight because I have a sales manager, or I have someone in the office managing claims, and I could step back and not work if I chose to. And in that whole process, and at the end of the 12 months, I had $120,000 in my bank account. And I shed many tears because it opened up a door for me that I had no idea that that was even, possible. And it's opened investment doors that I didn't know were possible. Um, Recently, I've uncovered even more things just related to, my why on why I wanted to do that. And I had for so long approached work with a kind of negative mindset, which I think a lot of people sometimes do, which is, this is a trade. I'm going to work, I'm trading my time, and I'm going to give what I have to so that I can go home and actually have my life. And and for me, I kind of fluctuated between doing a little bit more than the others who were around me so that I could stand out and, feel good about myself. But then I would also even just drift down into this place of, what's the bare minimum I need to give so that I don't have to be fired, which is a really negative mindset and energy. And I regret that that was a place that I was in, but honestly, like that was my part of my path. That there was a stage and a place where that's kind of what I gave. And while that's, not the greatest Jason who ever showed up, but it was the one that that's where he was, and that's what he needed to get to a place where I don't want that. That's not me anymore. And I was able to take a step up to the next level and to the next. And my why shifted, from, I want more time with my children. I want more income and more opportunities for me and my family, to then all of a sudden I have these other employees. Now we're up to 9 employees, and a few part-time, few VAs. But now these people truly matter so much, and the impact that we can have on their life, so that they're fulfilling their dreams. And so now all of a sudden, mentorship has become a huge why for me about why I'm here, and that energy that I can bring, that no more is it just bare minimum, but how can I help fuel other people's dreams and help them achieve what they want? So it's honestly, it I'm a spiritual person, and this has been probably the most spiritual experience that I've had, starting a business and all the ups and downs of it. And I didn't expect it to be. But I believe that businesses help us grow. And when we take that mindset of, what I'm doing today is going to help people, and if I have the intention that I'm going to be helped as well, then all of a sudden I'm getting more excited about what I'm doing, because I'm helping people and I'm learning and growing at the same time. And that type of feedback loop has been something that I've done with our team, having those conversations and changing it from, these are the policies, this is what you have to do, you didn't do that, but rather, how was the experience that the homeowner had? Were they happy? Were they having a hard time? I'm sorry, like they were angry with you, and it sounds like that was really frustrating. Like, talk me through how that felt, on the receiving end. Um, and now it's a lot more a cooperative experience where they're not getting in trouble. They're not, the boss isn't coming down and beating down on them. You did this wrong, or you should have said that, but rather asking them more fact-finding questions. So, yeah, I've kind of like brought us to this point of, um, we have a certain market share in Utah. We're looking at some other opportunities, and it's it's a very challenging space, to whatever industry you're in, to start something from scratch and building momentum. Any thoughts on that, Jason, just related to momentum, or anything else that I shared that you
Yeah, I
yeah.
one of the things that you mentioned that I think was uh, really kind of, it struck me as a really good correlation between just, I don't know, personal development versus business development, in that they're not that different. And I think we tend to look at them as very different things. And the reason it struck me is you said, oh, I had, I had these points where I was at my lowest, feeling like, oh, I'm going to do the bare minimum so I don't get fired, kind of thing, to being an overachiever. And I think that is what happens in business as well, right? Like it's business entrepreneurship. It's not steady state. It's not stable. It's not like every day is not the same. And I think it takes some adjustment to be okay with that, because most of our lives we're sort of taught like to try and like our bodies physically want to maintain equilibrium. Like that's like we want to stay at the same temperature. We want to stay, like
Yeah.
all of that stuff is, and in our lives, going to school and college and jobs, like all of that stuff is sort of geared to where every day almost looks exactly the same. And for some people that works, and for some people I don't think it does. And I think that's um if you're that's something to be aware of and sort of get a little bit comfortable with that pendulum, if you will, or the ups and downs of personal and business development. Is it's just not the same. And if it's the same, then you're probably not growing. You're probably not pushing. You're probably not, and that's okay. Like that's also a stage in life. That's a stage in life where a lot of people get to within their business, and then maybe that's shortly before they're going to sell that business or exit that business in
Mhm.
some way, because
Yeah.
they just aren't in that growth phase anymore. And I just think it's like when you said that, I was like, yeah, it's no different in us. It's no different in our personal development, our relationships, and all of that. So I think it all ties in together well. Um,
Yeah.
the momentum piece is also another. I mean, it's something that I think is an important part of understanding. You kind of mentioned that the momentum that your business has gained, and it comes from one, you made your business plan, your projections. You said, I'm 12 months, I'm gonna have 3 employees, I'm gonna have 100 grand in the bank account. Like those things, I think sometimes people think it sounds silly, but it's not like you just pick those things arbitrarily. If you do just pick them arbitrarily, it probably is silly. Like if you're like, in 12 months I'm going to have $1 billion in the bank and own a plane, like that's probably not a realistic thing. But if you look at, hey, this is the business I'm in or I'm creating or whatever, and say this is what I think can happen in 3 years, and maybe, or sorry, in a year, whatever time frame you pick, and maybe pick those parameters that are a little bit outside your comfort zone, so you got to
Mm.
look for them. Like I think that's the way to succeed. And I think you said now you're at 9 employees. Like there's that stuff, the growth piece, the success piece, like that gets, I don't I don't believe that it gets easier. I just think you get better at it over time. And that's where I think the momentum really comes in. Is it's like it's not easier, it's the same problems, you're solving the same problems, you're just better at solving them and more comfortable in that space. And that's,
Hmm.
I mean, I'd love to hear if your thoughts on that, if you agree, what kind of
Yeah.
what your idea.
You mentioned just comfort zone, and that's been one. Anything that you do for the first time, most often, like human nature says, you're going to be alone, uncomfortable, because you don't have all the answers. You haven't navigated the situation or the conversation. On the real estate side, I ask realtors, what was that like having that first real estate conversation with, a potential buyer or seller? And, they share words of just like, oh, I was nervous, I was uncomfortable, I was afraid, I didn't have the answers. And that is so common in anything that we do, because our comfort zone is obviously the place with which we are comfortable, that we have trod over and over again, right? Over and over again. I've had these things, I've had this kind of day, and those things are, for whatever reason, like I don't know what it is about our brains that we love being comfortable, we love being in routine. I think our brain is trying to maximize like efficiencies with energy and things like that, which
Yeah,
can be helpful. But to get to a place where, when you plateau in your personal development or in your business, that you should be getting uncomfortable because
Yeah.
the world and the way that the universe works, it seems like, everything's moving, everything's changing. And so if you're in a steady state, then you're actually being counter to like how things actually work because everything is always in motion and in change. And so you're either going to retrace or you get to continue to grow and develop. And, we get to be in the driver's seat. But it's this comfort zone place, and right outside that is the fear. And most people are too fearful to push through. Where what does that look like to have that kind of conversation or to do that kind of thing or to try to start a business? I have too much fear, right? And if we're run by fear, then you don't ever get to see what's on the other side, of the ceiling, the other side of that gulf, which is the learning zone and the growth zone, right? Where you're fulfilling your goals, you're learning and gaining new skills, and that's where actually a lot of fulfillment happens. I've had periods where like I kind of get sucked into that little comfort zone place, but I don't stay there very long anymore because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And it's outside of that where I'm meeting new people and I'm having conversations. That's where I've just found the most joy and fulfillment. Has that been your case as well? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Get gets it. It can get pretty stale when you're doing the same thing over and over again. It's a funny reference that probably nobody that's young will understand. But there is a line from a Pearl Jam song that says, "I change by not changing at all," and it's like, just to your point of the world is going to continue changing around us, and it's like, if you don't at least try to keep up, like you're going to end up, sort of outside of where you need to be. And I mean, you could, again, I use that song. I've always loved that line from the song, but like,
mhm.
also it's the same, like, it's inflation, like your money, if it's just sitting there, is actually losing value. And it's just like our minds, our productivity, our bodies, like, if we just don't do anything to improve, you're actually declining. Like, it's, you don't stay the same. It's one or the other.
Yeah,
Like, you're either declining or improving, and you
yeah,
have to actively take participation in improvement and growth. Like that, it's just, again, it's the, it's inflation. We talk about it from purely a
right.
money business
Monetary, but
standpoint, yeah, monetary standpoint. But it's the same thing. Like, if we don't exercise in our lives, our bodies just start to deteriorate. Like, that is what happens. And so the actual norm, I guess, is deterioration or decline, and you have to fight against it to not fall into that space. So I get,
yeah, have skin in the game, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
couple of different ways, I guess, of
yeah.
stating that. But yeah, I think it's important piece. You said lead gen guru, and I think I would be, probably, someone will get mad at me if I don't at least ask about. I love the philosophy and mindset behind business and things like that, but if I don't at least ask about, kind of how do you, uh, how do you, I guess, come to that, consideration that you're a lead generation guru. What do you do? Again, not necessarily give away all the secrets, but at a high level, kind of what brought you to that kind of realization.
Yeah. I'd say marketing has a lot to do with the hardest ways to go to market are the cold calling, the prospecting, right? I'm going to go out and hunt and find business. And the good news is, like in almost every industry, you have that ability to do that. Like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and get sales today because I have control over this. That's one philosophy and one strategy, and I recommend every business do that, especially when you're young, you're new. That's just the path that you got to go
Yeah.
to grow momentum. Then there's this alternative one where I would say the farming method, where the marketing that you do should be to one end, in my opinion, and it is to be remarkable. And I love the word, others have shared this. that it doesn't mean cool. Oh, that's really cool. That's very remarkable. It means to work to it's worth making a remark about that what you're doing in your business is worth other people talking about and sharing with other people.
Mm. Yeah.
And if that's happening, and sometimes it's hard to even know if it is, but if that's happening, then other people are going to be a part of your sales team and you will grow for the fact of just what it is that you're doing. Uh, I met, quick story here. I met these two real estate agents within like 2 or 3 weeks of each other. And so the contrast between them could not have been more glaring. One of them, he did over 100 transactions in the previous year. And I sat down with him and his admin and I was asking him, hey, how did this come about? Like, you do so much business. That's incredible. And he's like, I get all this business because I cold call. And I was just really impressed. And then I was asking some follow-up questions like, what does your referrals look like? And he's like, oh, it's probably around like 5%. And knowing the market, I asked, that seems, yeah, I'm interested why it's at 5%. What kind of things are you doing for retention and, to get additional referrals? The average typically is probably 50% or more of a real estate agent's business is coming
Yeah,
from referrals. And so
I
when
would
he
think
said
so.
5%,
Yeah, I would think so. Not in that world, but I would have thought it would be higher than that. Yes.
I was probing and just kind of asking for some follow-up. And he was kind of beating around the bush a little bit. And his admin, she kind of looks at me. She's like, he doesn't get referrals because his clients don't like him. And I was like, is that right? Why is that happening? We brainstormed a little bit, but the other agent was just the opposite. He did 70 transactions the previous year, and I sat down with him and I'm like, Bob, how do you get so much business? Where is this coming from? And he's like, I just wait for the phone to ring. And I'm like, bull crap. Like, what are you actually doing? Like, what are you doing so people are calling you and you're getting business? And he said, legitimately, like, I think I might be paying too much money, for buyers and helping them with all kinds of things that, maybe other people aren't doing. And he seemed a little conflicted with how much he was spending, but to be able to have that much referral business is really attractive in any market, not just in the real estate market. And so I really see that as whatever you're going to do, look at what the market's doing, look at how sales are happening, what are the day-to-day activities, what are the prospecting and cold calling and hunting activities that you could do, and what are the farming techniques, and build out a plan that addresses both of those. You're at the beginning, you're gonna have to put a lot of energy in building momentum, but you should not neglect the other, which is people want to work with me because and having those, and that you hold yourself accountable to those, you have your team held accountable to those, that the quality is there, and that people genuinely are pleased and happy to hear from you, see your business, interact with your business. And this is another thing that I've noticed, just when negative feedback comes, don't shy away from it. When negative feedback comes, don't duck and hide, but address it full on and take all the responsibility and all the ownership and do all of the phone calls necessary to make sure that what you can do is done and crossed out. And in everyone else's minds who are a part of the transaction or whatever that went south,
Yeah.
that you're addressing it and that they all know that, you know what, Jason takes his business seriously. He cares. He's going to do everything he can to make this right. And yeah, you might not want to work with me again in the future, and that's fine. But this is how I operate because that's who I am. Just doing that all by itself is going to stand out because most people aren't willing to have those hard, difficult conversations.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Accountability goes. I mean, the two pieces that you mentioned, you probably I would think like that the ratio is very one-sided to begin, and then
Hmm.
flips more in the opposite direction. But also, like, if you can actually have both, you're going to be that much more successful. So I think adding all, yeah, I mean, the piece about the you mentioned remarkable, and having your business so good that people make remarks about it, positively. um and and a positive remark can be, hey, this person took accountability for something negative that happened. And I think that that's like, I love that you pointed that out, that we don't have to say, oh, it's that went bad. I guess I lost that one. Like, that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean you can't um, make good to that customer. Like, I think that's, regardless of kind of what goes on, and it's often about, sort of playing that long game. So, um,
Hmm. Yeah.
well, Jason, I want to switch gears and ask you the questions I ask every guest. And we've already talked a lot about, kind of your why and how it's changed over time. I've actually joked or toyed with the idea of changing the name of the podcast to Evolution of Why, because in within myself and also a lot of my guests, I think, we have maybe different whys in different phases of life or business. But I wanted to just give you an opportunity, if there's anything you want to add to the what is your why question. I figured I'd let you revisit. If you feel as though it's covered, then great. But I think that's the reason why this podcast has the name it does, and I think it's a really important piece of success.
Yeah, I would add a little more. I guess I want to put a little capstone event for me that happened fairly recently, that I recognized in myself, as now the employer who is paying salaries and commissions. I've noticed that there have been times where I felt some resentment towards some of the people that I work with,
Mm-hmm.
that they weren't giving their all, that they weren't, really pushing hard, or that maybe I care about their dreams and goals more than they do. And it caught me pretty hard, because I've recognized the experience of who Jason was when he was the employee and who was giving bare minimum,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw myself in them. And all I actually experienced was just a lot of love and gratitude for who they are right now, and what they're experiencing, and I can work with that. And since then, like, doing payroll or seeing that happen, and money coming in and money coming out, um, I feel like I've closed the door, and it's been, so for me, one of my whys is mentorship is a really important piece, that the people that are here, they're at all different stages, and it isn't my responsibility to push them into entrepreneurship, or push them, to their next thing, or push them towards skill development even. But it's to listen to them where they're at, and the friction they're feeling, either in their own life if they share it, or in the friction that they're feeling in the role. Talk with them about accountability and see if there's anything I can do to help them. But also ask, is there any skills that you'd like to develop, or any course that you'd like to go through? And I would love to help participate in that, whether I'm paying for part of it or all of it. We also have, a book club program where I have a list of, really important books that I've read that have impacted my life in a really deep, deep way. And, I have a little bonus program for people who read them. And then if they really want an extra bonus, then they read it and write a little one-page summary about what they learned. And I see that as just, I want to be the kind of boss that maybe I didn't get. I've had some bad bosses, I've had some good ones, and I want to be the one that is supportive of people, because a lot of the experience I've felt in the work environment is very cutthroat, and it's very competitive, and it feels very dangerous. And so there isn't a feeling of safety. There is not a feeling of people care about me and people want me here, or people, I want to create a safe environment, even a safe haven for people that are willing to work. People are willing to, be a positive environment here, or help create a positive environment. They're willing to take feedback. So, one of my whys right now is to be that kind of support to people, where I'm relaxed and in a state where they know they can come and talk to me about what's happening here, what's happening in their own personal life. And, yeah, there've been a lot of conversations that have led places I never thought, that, now my whole psychology degree is kind of kicking in.
Yeah, yeah.
But
from marriage counselor to
Yeah, marriage counseling.
employee counselor is probably not a far leap at all. I would imagine
Yeah.
that fits pretty
Well,
well.
and one final one. One thing that brings me a lot of joy is a sales rep who worked with me for 5 years in the early stages of the business, got to a place where, he was thinking of leaving, and I was able to convince him to stay. He stayed for another 2 years, and then he got to a place where he was able to learn and grow, and got to a place where he's like, I want to start my own business. And I was able to help facilitate him getting to the place where he can do that. And while I didn't do all of it, but I did do some mentorship and help him get to the place where he's now 1 year in, he has 3 employees, and really just doing an awesome job. And I'm super happy to have been a part of that story, because, you know, I think the world needs more entrepreneurs, people that are willing to like put their stake in the ground and say, I want to solve this and I want to do it really well. And we really are on the cusp of this incredible AI explosion. Honestly, like I don't even think it's even begun yet. In
Yeah.
fact, of like what it is going to do for individuals and for businesses. People have a lot of fear around it, and I'd say those people are ones that are maybe not willing to look at, well, how can I take advantage, or what should I be doing? For anyone who wants to know, like they really should be talking to AI every day. You should be asking it questions. You should be talking to it, and it is smarter than most people. And the fact that you're talking to someone who's smarter than you, it's going to teach you ways about how you should be thinking, different categories of processing. And especially if in entrepreneurship, it has just an array of assistance that will help people just quickly accelerate the way that they get to market.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, and I love the book club piece. I think that's actually a great thing to have, to create a sense of team and common goals. So, well, when people hear this, Jason, and they want to reach out to you and connect, what's the best way?
Email would be a great way to start. It's, Jason at silverbackhw.com. And yeah, my hope and dreams are that everyone takes more responsibility for their own life. That's where I have found the greatest joy is I'm not a victim. I don't think anyone is a victim. And I think all of us have the ability to learn and grow and take a step forward to make our own life better. I think fundamentally we all get out of bed for that very reason, is I'm alive because I can make a difference. And I think the more people that lean into that, I think just the greater joy and satisfaction they'll have. And I would love to be a part of that if anyone wants to reach out and, have a conversation with me.
Great. Well, we will get that in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing all that you did. I think your story is inspiring one of business growth and or business startup and growth, and it's just great to hear those things. I think the listeners will really appreciate it. So thank you for being here.
It's a good time, Jason. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah. And folks listening, make sure you connect with Jason, and please like, rate, and review the show. That helps us get more great guests. And as always, thank you so much for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?